Hello, everyone. Tonight, as the world grows quiet around us, we're going to explore something truly remarkable. Something that's been hiding in plain sight, right there in your home, or perhaps watching from a windowsill somewhere. The secret superpowers of cats. These small creatures who curl up beside us, who purr in the darkness, who move through shadows like whispers. They carry within them abilities that seem almost impossible. Abilities that have been millions of years in the making. So, settle in, let your breathing slow, and together we'll drift through the quiet mysteries of what makes a cat extraordinary. Before we begin, like and subscribe. That would make me happy. Let's begin. The first superpower we'll explore tonight is the cat's reflexes. When you watch a cat, really watch, you might notice how they seem to exist slightly ahead of time, how they react to things before those things have even fully happened. A falling object, caught mid-air, their paw moving faster than your eye can quite follow. This is reflex, but not as we know it. A cat's reaction time is roughly 6 to 7 times faster than a human's. 6 to 7 times. Imagine that. Imagine experiencing the world with that much extra time to respond, to adjust, to move. But how does it actually work? Deep inside a cat's body, the nervous system runs like lightning. The signals, traveling from their eyes, their whiskers, their sensitive paws, all the way to their brain and back again. These signals move at incredible speeds, processed almost instantly. Their muscles respond with a kind of liquid precision, fast twitch fibers that contract in mere milliseconds. And their brain, their beautiful, mysterious brain, it's wired for this. The cerebellum, the part that controls movement and balance, is proportionally larger in cats than in many other animals. It processes information about position, about speed, about trajectory, all in the time it takes you to blink. Which is why, when a cat falls, even from a standing position, they can twist their body mid-air, rotating their spine, adjusting each part independently until their feet face downward. This is called the righting reflex, and it happens so fast, it looks like magic. But where did this come from? Millions of years ago, the ancestors of our modern cats were hunters, not the apex predators, but something more delicate, more precise. They hunted birds, small rodents, creatures that were themselves quick and alert. To catch a bird, you cannot be slow. To catch a mouse that can change direction in an instant, you need to be even faster. And so, over countless generations, the cats who survived were the ones whose reflexes were just a fraction quicker, just a little bit sharper. Those genes passed on, and on, and on, until we arrived here, at this moment, where a house cat can pluck a fly from the air, almost lazily. We humans, we like to think of ourselves as quick, a professional athlete, a boxer, a tennis player. They train their whole lives to react faster, and they're impressive, truly. But even the fastest human, with the most trained reflexes, reacts in about 150 to 200 milliseconds. A cat can react in 20 to 70 milliseconds. It's not even close. If you and a cat both reached for the same falling glass, the cat would catch it every single time, while you were still just beginning to move your hand. Picture this: a quiet afternoon, sunlight streaming through a window. A cat named Luna, grey and silver, lies on the back of a sofa. She appears to be sleeping, her eyes half closed, her breathing slow and steady. Above her, a spider has begun to lower itself on a single thread, slowly, gently, descending from the ceiling. The spider drops, silently, and in that moment, without even seeming to wake, Luna's paw moves, one swift, precise motion, and the spider is caught, held gently between her pads. She examines it for a moment, then releases it, letting it scurry away, and she settles back, as if nothing at all has happened, as if she hadn't just moved faster than thought itself. That's the quiet power living in these creatures. There's something beautiful about reflexes. When you really think about it, they represent a kind of wisdom that exists below consciousness. The body knowing what to do before the mind can interfere. Perhaps we all have this, somewhere deep down, this ancient knowledge written into our cells. But in cats, it remains so close to the surface, so ready, so pure. They remind us that survival isn't always about thinking. Sometimes it's about trusting. Trusting the millions of years of knowledge, living quietly in the muscles and nerves, being present, being ready, being impossibly, beautifully quick. Now, as we drift deeper into the night, let's talk about our second superpower, night vision. Cats, as you may know, can see in conditions that would leave us completely blind. Not perfectly, not in absolute darkness, but in the kind of dim twilight that feels like blindness to us. To them, it's almost like day. A cat can see in light levels 6 times lower than what we need. 6 times. Imagine that. Imagine the world still visible when it should be pitch black. But how does it actually work? Behind a cat's eyes, there's a structure called the tapetum lucidum, a beautiful name for a beautiful thing. It's a reflective layer sitting behind the retina, like a mirror made of cells. When light enters the eye, it hits the retina once, and those light-sensitive cells capture some of it. But the light that passes through, instead of being lost, it bounces off this mirror, this tapetum lucidum, and passes through the retina again, giving those cells a second chance to catch the photons, to build the image. This is why, when you shine a light at a cat in the dark, their eyes glow back at you. That eerie, beautiful shine, green or gold or amber. It's the light reflecting back from that inner mirror. And cats also have more rods in their retinas, the cells that detect light and movement. Fewer cones, which means less color vision, but so many more rods. Their eyes are designed specifically for the twilight hours, for dawn and dusk, when the world is painted in silver and shadow. Their ancestors, the wild cats, the small predators of forests and grasslands, they hunted at crepuscular hours. That beautiful word, crepuscular, it means the time of twilight, dawn and dusk, when day and night blur together. This is when their prey was most active. The small mammals, the birds returning to roost. And it's also when the larger predators, the ones who might hunt cats themselves, were less active. A perfect window, a safe, productive time to hunt, but only if you could see. And so, evolution shaped their eyes over millions of years, adding that reflective layer, increasing those rods, widening the pupils to let in more light, until they became creatures of the in-between, the threshold, the gentle darkness. Our eyes, human eyes, are remarkable in their own way. We see color beautifully, We see detail in bright light with incredible clarity. But at night, we're almost helpless. Our pupils can dilate. Yes, and we have some rods of our own, but nothing like a cat's. In the same dim room where a cat can see a mouse move across the floor, we see only vague shapes, shadows, uncertainty. We need fire, candles, electric light to function after dark. Cats need only the moon, or even less. Just starlight, just the faintest glow. They inherited the night, while we only visit it. Imagine a garden. Late evening. The sun has set completely. To you, standing at the window, it's almost completely dark. Shapes are uncertain. Movement is invisible. But in the garden, a cat named Midnight, black as her name, sits perfectly still. Her eyes, wide and luminous, track something you cannot see. A field mouse, moving through the grass, completely unaware. To Midnight, the scene is clear. Every blade of grass, every movement, every detail. The mouse pauses, and Midnight's pupils dilate even wider, drinking in every available photon. She crouches. Her body becomes liquid, silent, and then she moves. One perfect pounce, certain and true, because she can see what we cannot, because the darkness, to her, is just another kind of light. There's something humbling about this, isn't there? We think we see the world as it truly is, but really, we only see the version our eyes can process, our slice of reality. Cats live in a different version, where darkness is transparent, where night reveals instead of conceals. It reminds us that reality is bigger than our perception, that there are layers, wavelengths, dimensions we're completely blind to, and somewhere, an animal is moving through them, gracefully, naturally, seeing things we'll never see. Perhaps that's a kind of magic, the everyday magic of different biology, different evolution, different ways of being alive in the same world. That isn't quite the same at all. Let's drift now to another sense, another superpower hidden in plain view. The hearing of cats is extraordinary. While we hear the world in our limited way, cats hear so much more. So much that exists just beyond our perception. They can hear sounds up to 64,000 Hertz, maybe even higher, compared to our maximum of about 20,000 Hertz. And even more impressively, they can hear ultrasonic frequencies, the high-pitched sounds that rodents use to communicate, sounds that, to us, simply don't exist. But how does it work? A cat's ears, those beautiful, expressive ears, are mechanical marvels. Each ear has 32 muscles, 32, controlling the movement. They can rotate each ear independently, almost 180 degrees, like two satellite dishes, scanning the environment, constantly adjusting. Inside those ears, the structure of the inner ear is designed for high-frequency sensitivity. The cochlea, the tiny bones, the way the sound waves are processed, all of it tuned, like a precision instrument, to hear the ultrasonic. And their brain dedicates significant processing power to analyzing these sounds, distinguishing between them, locating their source with incredible accuracy. They can pinpoint a sound's location to within 3 inches from several feet away, just by listening, just by processing those tiny differences in timing as sound reaches each ear. Once again, we return to the hunt, the prey that ancient cats pursued. Mice, voles, shrews. These creatures communicate ultrasonically. They send high-pitched calls to each other. Warnings, mating signals, social sounds, calls that most predators cannot hear. But cats evolved to eavesdrop on these conversations, to hear the secret language of their prey. It's an incredible advantage to hear your dinner talking to itself, to locate it even when it's hidden in grass or underground. Those cats who could hear just a little bit higher, just a little bit better. They caught more food, survived longer, had more offspring, and their gift of hearing spread generation after generation, until it became this ability to hear, an entire hidden world of sound. We humans, we hear well enough for our purposes. We evolved for language, for music, for the sounds of our social world. But we're missing so much. Right now, in this very moment, there are sounds all around us that we're completely unaware of. The ultrasonic chirps of mice, the high-frequency buzz of electronics, the calls of certain insects, an entire soundtrack to reality, playing constantly, that we will never hear. But a cat sitting beside us, they hear it all. They live in a richer acoustic world, fuller, more layered, while we move through it, partially deaf, never knowing what we're missing. Picture a house at night. Everyone is asleep. In the bedroom, a cat named Whisper, orange tabby, lies at the foot of the bed. The humans are breathing slowly, deeply, lost in dreams. Everything is quiet. But Whisper's ears, they suddenly prick up, rotating toward the wall. Inside that wall, in the narrow space between the studs, a mouse is moving. It's making tiny sounds, scratching, and those ultrasonic calls, talking to itself perhaps, or to another mouse. Sounds that the sleeping humans will never hear, could never hear. But Whisper hears them perfectly. She lifts her head, eyes focusing on the wall, ears locked in position, tracking the mouse's movement, knowing exactly where it is, just from the sound. She doesn't pounce. The wall is in the way, but she knows. She hears the secret world, the invisible story happening just beyond the surface, and eventually, she settles back down, satisfied that she knows all there is to know about this quiet night. That isn't quite as quiet as it seems. It makes you wonder, what else are we missing? If our hearing cuts off at 20,000 Hertz, and cats hear to 64,000, what's beyond that? What sounds exist at 100,000, or a million, or beyond? Is the universe singing songs we can't even imagine? We build tools to extend our senses, microphones, oscilloscopes, technology. But cats were given their tools by nature, by time, by necessity. They remind us to be humble, to remember that our perception is limited, that right now, always, there are dimensions of reality we cannot access. And that's okay. That's beautiful, actually, because it means the world is bigger than we know, richer, stranger, more full of mystery. And somewhere, a cat is listening to the parts we'll never hear. Now, let's talk about how cats move through space, their fourth superpower, flexibility, the impossible ways they bend and twist and flow. A cat's flexibility is remarkable, doesn't even cover it. They can rotate their spine, compress their body, fit through openings that seem far too small, and they do it with such ease, such grace, such effortless fluidity, like they're made of something other than bone and muscle, like they're liquid, poured into the shape of an animal. How it works? The secret is in the spine. A cat's spine has 53 loosely fitting vertebrae compared to our 33, and the discs between those vertebrae are more elastic, more cushioning, allowing greater flexibility. They also have a unique collarbone, or rather, they almost don't have one. A cat's clavicle is free-floating, not attached to other bones, which means their shoulder blades can move independently. This gives them the ability to narrow their body, to slim down, to squeeze, and their muscles. They're arranged in layers, designed for both power and flexibility. They can arch their back into that classic Halloween cat shape, stretching every vertebra, or compress themselves flat, elongate their body to twice its normal length. Their whole skeleton is designed around mobility, around adaptation to space. Once more, we return to ancient times, to survival, to the long story of becoming. Cats are both predators and prey. They hunt, but they are also hunted. And often, survival meant hiding, finding the smallest crack, the tightest space, and disappearing into it. A hole in a tree, a gap under a rock, a narrow crevice between stones. If you can make yourself fit, you can survive. And when hunting, flexibility means reaching into burrows, extending into impossible angles, grabbing prey from unexpected positions. Those cats who could bend just a little more, fit just a little tighter. They lived and passed on their flexible genes. Over millions of years, the spine lengthened, the bones loosened, the muscles adapted, until we arrived at this almost supernatural bendability. We humans, we're relatively stiff. Our spine is designed for upright walking, for stability, for bearing weight vertically. We have only 33 vertebrae, more rigidly connected, less rotation possible. Our collarbone is firmly attached, our shoulders less independent. We can bend, yes. We can train ourselves to be more flexible, but there are limits, hard limits, written into our bones. A cat can fit through any opening as wide as their skull. Try that as a human. It's impossible. Our shoulders, our hips, our rigid structure prevents it. We're built for different purposes, different movement, different lives, and that's okay. But watching a cat, watching them flow through space, it's hard not to feel just a little bit jealous of that freedom, that fluidity. Imagine a fence, wooden slats, close together, with just a small gap. To you, it looks impossibly narrow, maybe 3 or 4 inches wide. But a cat approaches, a large ginger tom named Marmalade. He's not a small cat, well-fed, thick coat, substantial presence. You would swear he couldn't fit through that gap, no possible way. But Marmalade, he knows better. He approaches calmly, examines the gap. His whiskers measure it automatically. Then, he begins to compress. His shoulder blades rotate forward. His body narrows. His spine elongates. And he simply flows through. One moment he's on one side of the fence, the next moment the other. As if the fence wasn't even there. As if solid matter was just a suggestion. And on the other side, he sits, licks his paw once, completely unconcerned. Because to him, that wasn't even difficult. Just another Tuesday. Just another impossibly small space that wasn't small at all. There's something profound about flexibility, both physical and metaphorical. The ability to adapt, to fit yourself to the circumstances, to find a way through. Cats embody this, literally, in their very bones. They teach us that obstacles are often just a matter of perspective, that what seems impossible might just require a different approach, a different angle. And there's grace in yielding, in bending, in being soft enough to flow, while still maintaining your essential self, your core. A cat doesn't become less of a cat by squeezing through a gap. It remains completely itself, just adapted, flexible, fluid. Maybe we could learn from that in how we move through life, less rigid, more willing to adjust, to find the path that works, even if it's narrow, even if it seems impossible. Because maybe, like cats, we're more flexible than we think. We've just forgotten how to flow. Now, let's pull back and look at the bigger picture. How cats became cats. It begins, as these things always do, millions of years ago. Around 10 to 12 million years ago, a small carnivore lived in the forests of Asia. Not quite a cat, not yet, but something close. A common ancestor, Pseudolurus, that was its name, a creature about the size of a small lynx. And from this ancestor, two branches split. One branch would eventually become the saber-toothed cats, powerful, specialized, ultimately extinct. The other branch would become all the cats we know today, both wild and domestic. This second branch, they stayed small, adaptable, generalist hunters. They spread across continents, adapting to deserts, forests, grasslands, mountains. And in each environment, the pressures were slightly different, the challenges unique. In the forests, they developed climbing skills, retractable claws to grip bark, flexibility to navigate branches. In the grasslands, they developed speed, keen eyesight, the ability to stalk through tall grass. In rocky terrain, they developed precision jumping, perfect balance, fear of nothing, and slowly, those superpowers we've explored tonight, they accumulated. The fast reflexes developed from hunting quick prey, generation after generation of natural selection. The night vision, from hunting at dawn and dusk, when competition was lower and success higher. The incredible hearing, from pursuing small rodents who speak in frequencies others cannot hear. The flexibility, from hiding in small spaces, escaping larger predators, squeezing into burrows. Each trait appeared gradually, tiny improvements spread across millions of years. A slightly faster reflex, a slightly more sensitive ear, a slightly more flexible spine. Over and over and over. The cats who had these advantages survived, reproduced, passed them on, until, around 10,000 years ago, something new happened. Humans started farming, storing grain, creating permanent settlements, and grain attracted rodents, mice and rats in abundance, and rodents attracted cats, the wild cats. Felis sylvestris libica, the African wildcat, began hanging around human villages. Not because humans wanted them, but because the hunting was good, and humans noticed these cats were killing the pests, protecting the grain stores. And so, slowly, reluctantly at first, our relationship formed. The cats tolerated humans. Humans tolerated cats. Over generations, the boldest cats, the ones least afraid of people, stayed closer, bred more successfully in this new niche. And domestic cats emerged, not quite wild anymore, but never quite tame either, keeping all their superpowers, all their wild gifts, but learning to live alongside us, in our homes, on our laps, in our hearts. That's the remarkable thing. Really, your house cat, sleeping on your couch right now, carries all of this history. 10 million years of evolution, of survival, of refinement, all that perfect design, those superpowers, unchanged and undiminished, wrapped in soft fur, purring contentedly, pretending to be harmless. But still, underneath, a perfect predator, still capable of impossibly fast reflexes, seeing in near darkness, hearing the ultrasonic, bending like water. They walked into our lives and kept everything that made them wild. They gave us nothing but their presence, and we fell in love anyway. That's the story, the long evolutionary story of how they became these magnificent creatures and how they decided, somewhat arbitrarily, to live with us while remaining completely, utterly themselves. So, here we are, at the end of our journey, the superpowers of cats, revealed tonight. But the greatest superpower of all might just be this: the ability to be completely at peace with exactly what you are. Nothing more needed, nothing more wanted, just being. Rest now. Let it all go. Like a cat in the sunlight, like a cat in the darkness, like a cat curled in the perfect spot. Just rest. Everything is, well, everything is exactly as it should be. Sleep now, peaceful, complete, whole. Good night.